Please join me in welcoming Anthony Vutullo, class of 1997 and member of the Board of Trustees, to introduce our second honoree, Mr. Julius Dr. J. Erving. Please come forward.
Mr. President, I have the honor of introducing Mr. Julius Dr. J. Erving. Mr. Erving, your remarkable career in basketball embodies Philadelphia University's belief in the importance of innovative work. You are widely regarded as the greatest player of your time. With the creation of your signature slam dunk and original style of play, you defined the future and set a new standard for the sport of basketball. You are considered the main catalyst for the ABA-NBA merger in 1976. Throughout the duration of your career, you played for the ABA's Virginia Squires, the New York Nets, and the NBA's Philadelphia 76ers. You won 3 championships, 4 Most Valuable Player awards, and 3 scoring titles. You have scored 30,026 points, ranking you in the top 10 scoring players of all time. You were inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1993 and selected as one of the NBA's 50 greatest players in its history. You have launched a successful business and basketball executive career. You are a true innovator and team player. It is with gratitude for all of these accomplishments and the highest praise and honor that the Board of Trustees of Philadelphia University recommends that Mr. Julius Erving be awarded the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Mr. Erving, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Board of Trustees of Philadelphia University, I do hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations.
Good morning. Thank you, President Spinelli, ladies and gentlemen, class of 2017. Very happy to be here with you today. I was asked if I would be your commencement speaker, and it wasn't a problem. Just trying to get to Atlanta, or from Atlanta to Philadelphia after a big Mother's Day weekend. I guess it led to a 6 a.m. flight. I got here at 8. So I've been chilling the last 2 hours, getting ready for y'all. But I did write a speech for you, and I entitled it, How Rams Win in the 21st Century. You being the Rams. You know, back in the day, comedian Flip Wilson used to imitate the preacher who was trying to raise money from his congregation. He stands in the pulpit and he says, for a church to grow, first it has to crawl. His congregation shouts back, make it crawl, Rev, make it crawl. And then he says, after we learn to crawl, then we have to walk. To which they say, make it walk, Rev, make it walk. The preacher now says, after we learn to walk, then we have to run. And with great enthusiasm, the people shout, make it run, Rev, make it run. And then he says, for our church to run properly, it's got to have money. To which they shout back to him, make it crawl, Rev, make it crawl. Well, what that says is that people sometimes like to move at their own pace rather than a pace that we might set for them. Let me have a show of hands here. How many of you have ever cut a class? How many of you have ever skipped a meal? How about missed a planned workout? and just decide to blow it off. All right, we're all guilty of that. Have you observed in your lifetime, as I have observed, rather often a consistent human tendency to try to freeze time at the moment, when we're happy or when things are going particularly well, whether it's our academic success or a certain sense of harmony with family and friends. We don't want that time to change. We want it all to stay put, wrapped up in a nice, neat package. To me, this is life on the defense, trying to protect what was instead of getting on with what can be. As important as defense is in basketball, just as Coach Shirley and Coach McGee, I feel offense in life is much more essential. Now, quote me on this one, Rams. You cannot wait for your destiny to become a matter of chance. You must always keep it as a matter of choice. Your path to success will be confirmed by your enthusiasm in encouraging leadership, stimulating innovation, and applauding creativity. Now, I'll quote your boy again here. Change is not a stranger. It's always been around. What's different now about change is the pace. We travel, work, calculate, and communicate faster than any of our ancestors did. In the past, new events approached slowly enough for people to gradually adapt to them. Today, there's no time for leisurely adaptation. New changes overtake others that we haven't even assimilated in our minds yet. And yes, some news is fake news. But you as tomorrow's leaders understand that being in crisis is now the norm. It is our constant companion, and like it or not, you better learn to walk hand in hand with it. Ask yourself the question, when haven't we had a crisis to contend with? Most of the class is over 21. So by now you should have learned that no profession nor institution has an immunity from the impatient expectations of the public. If Baryshnikov danced brilliantly at the matinee, he's expected to do it again that night. If Pavarotti hits all the high notes on Friday, he is expected to climb that same scale on Saturday. If Dr. J, remember him, operates on the Celtics or the Lakers on game night, the expectation for the next battle was off the charts. So, in case you feel that this "what have you done for me lately" attitude isn't fair, I agree with you. It isn't right. But my gray hair tells me that it's real. Real also is the need for leadership. You know, during my academic, athletic, and professional life, I've had the good fortune of seeing the world through the dual windows of labor and management. I know the promise of one and the necessity of the other, that need to develop one's skills and talent, and the parallel need to manage them effectively. Rams, do I have your attention? If you want to win in the 21st century, you must accept that it is your country's predicament to be the hope of the world. You have a role to play in that, just as your parents and your grandparents and people before them played roles that provide sufficient testimony as to what you can do when you put away your doubts and decide simply to be the best. You know, our nation was not built on fear, nor hesitation, nor half-hearted commitment. It was built on courage, imagination, and an unbeatable determination to get on with the game. I'm going to use 3 laws of human behavior as the centerpiece of my speech to you today. The first Dr. J law of human behavior is, don't live in fear of stepping in something soft. You can laugh. The corollary is, don't get any of that stuff on you. Ever notice something about leaders? Leaders are decisive. When Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood up in Washington, D.C., he said, "I have a dream today." He didn't stand up and say, "You know, I've been thinking about this idea. And maybe if we get a committee together, study it for a couple of years, we can make something good happen." Leaders are decisive. When Brigham Young took his people on their journey, he said, "We will go west." He didn't say, "Well, we'll head out to Utah and we'll give it a trial, and if we don't like it, we'll backtrack to Illinois," all 16,000 strong. When Lewis and Clark set out on an expedition to explore the American Northwest, they didn't go with a map, however, they came back with one. Leaders make things happen. Leadership is most conspicuous when it's absent. Without leadership in business, in government, in education, we will inevitably drift with the trends that are created by others. We become captains of caution. We look at each other's limitations instead of pursuing our possibilities. People with ordinary motivation seldom end up influencing change. The meek may inherit the earth, but they will not necessarily improve it. Cautious people did not get carved onto the face of Mount Rushmore. You know, we spend an enormous amount of time getting ready to do something. It seems like a creative idea in industry must now withstand the withering test of financial analysis, marketing studies, governmental compliance, and human impact. And certainly there's value in analysis and investigation, but when it becomes an obsession, it promotes an unhealthy devaluation of simple gut instinct. So I'm not suggesting we disrespect the incredibly good judgments that historically have served us all so well. Among the values that we sustained, that has sustained our society, is a willingness to take action. Your future depends upon the orderly transmission of those values from one generation to the next. That transmission will be done by leaders, and they will do it by example. Leaders run fast. They do not seek the safe and the secure way. They are not afraid to step in something soft. The second Dr. J law of human behavior is, quote, "Old boomerangs are hard to throw away." It also has a corollary. With an apology, the corollary says, the more you run over a flat cat, or the more you run over a dead cat, the flatter he gets. With apologies for all the pet lovers. Now, what that means is we have difficulty giving up what we did yesterday, difficulty making room in our minds for the things of tomorrow. As leaders, you are in the profession of innovation. Those of us who have become businessmen and women sometimes, forget where we came from. Innovation has many attractions. It is an equal opportunity provider. Anybody can play the game. Good ideas can come from anybody, male, female, young, not so young, engineer, planner, marketing person. Somebody thought of the backpack. Somebody thought of the shopping cart. Somebody thought of the jet engine, the computer, the automatic transmission. Innovation means you're playing offense, not defense. In football, the onside kick early in the game is innovation. Late in the game, it's desperation. Writing love letters is innovation. Buying them back, I guess, could be considered a lesson in marketing. Managing your personal and business affairs and displaying a willingness to adapt and adjust are keys to avoiding heartache, headache, and possibly Chapter 11. The story of free enterprise is one of great successes, but it can be quite unforgiving for those that do not anticipate and initiate change. So you have to be resourceful. You know, a farmer took his horse to the vet and he said, "Doc, you know, sometimes my horse walks normal and other time it limps. What should I do?" The vet said, "Well, next time it walks normal, sell him." You know, there is an undeniable need for people to know how to win, granted to do so ethically, but who know how to win. My third law of human behavior, and I promise there's only three, concerns the recognition of people. It says, everyone wants to peel their own banana. Everybody wants applause. Everybody wants approval. You've arrived when the boss asks your opinion of the big project. I do not know who encouraged Thomas Edison to give up other projects and tinker around in the laboratory, but the world is better off because someone did. I do not know who encouraged George Washington Carver to experiment in agriculture, but the world learned lessons that changed the course of history because someone did. For every person out there with a spark of genius, there are 9 more out there with some serious ignition problems. And it's a leader's job to provide the jump start. Listen to people. There's a little listening going on these days. People are so hungry to be heard that they're standing in line to pay shrinks hundreds of dollars an hour for the privilege. People are resourceful. When Abraham Lincoln was young, he commanded a small troop in the Illinois militia. But Abe never learned the proper command for close order drill. One day, as he was marching his troops through the field, he noticed they were rapidly approaching a fence that only had a small opening in it. And since they were marching 4 abreast, he tried to think of the command that would negotiate this situation in proper military fashion. He couldn't. So he called a halt, and he said, "All right, fall out, take a 10-minute break, and then fall in on the other side of the fence." As people who are surrounded by the age of expectations from teachers, consumers, government agencies, or social organizations, we sometimes wish we could simply call a halt to our problems, have them give us a break, and fall back in some way, sometime, somewhere else. We need to tell each other the truth. We seem to be reluctant to convey bad news. Economists probably told Noah that it was going to be partly cloudy outside. But reality says that change is not so intimidating as long as you have some measure of influence over its outcome. Reality says that the future of leadership will be determined by the commitment to win that you bring to your economic, educational, and spiritual pursuits. Reality says that if we as a society falter, it will not be because our foes were strong, but because we failed to recognize the time in which we live, that we failed to aggressively accept the responsibility to develop our potential. And the job for you is to find that potential. There's always been an excitement about watching imagination made visible. Today, class of 2017, the challenge of increasing competition in the global marketplace and in the court of high opinion have added new dimensions of opportunity for all of you. Never forget what makes you special. having that sense of what might be, that keen feel for the future, your future, our future. Rams, life is mostly a test of character. The challenges don't build character, they reveal it. One's character is developed early by what you absorb from the value systems around you and the individual style you sort out from all those experiences. Leadership requires character. Leadership is more than being the biggest, the richest, or the most successful. It means taking part in the issues of the day and making a difference in the lives of our neighbors and our communities. Character requires courage and belief, a willingness to stay with the struggle no matter what form it takes. Big dreams start with small steps. Most of you are dreamers, but some let their dreams die. Others nourish them and protect them and build them. So no matter what your professional pursuits may be, there's no comparison between that which is lost by not succeeding and that which is lost by not trying. To utilize one's life in quest of worthy goals is the essence of human dignity. It's also an essential part of your leadership toolkit. Make your model a combination of the practical and the spiritual. Each of you has to find out what works best for you. You cannot export your values unless you simply have a very good supply on hand. And in closing, I encourage you to take from here today a can-do spirit, for it is that spirit that will allow you to move successfully from your todays to your tomorrows. The shape-up time for all of you. Life will test you often in the days ahead, but great causes and worthy goals can stand the discipline and the pressure of accountability. A gym cannot be polished without friction. A community cannot flourish without challenge. So as citizens, let's never forget that you're a part of something larger than yourselves. And at some future date, the High Court of History will sit in judgment of your brief span of services in the 21st century. I think you will be measured by the answer to 4 questions. First, were you truly people of courage, willing to stand up to the realities of your time? Second, did you have enough wisdom to acknowledge when you didn't know something and had the candor to admit it? And third, are you people of integrity who never run out on the principles you believe in or ever forsake the values that you consider essential? And fourth is simply, when leadership was required, did you seek it or did you avoid it? Class of 2017, go for it, and always give it your best shot. God bless you and good luck.